Well, good evening, book lovers. Welcome to another episode of Cath-Lit Live. I am your host, Amy Cattapan. You can find me everywhere on social media under my pen name, AJ Cattapan. I'm so happy to be with you again as we are really rocking and rolling into the school year now. And I have a new author to introduce you to today. For those of you who are new to Cath-Lit Live, here's what I do. I bring you interviews with Catholic authors who have new books that have just released or are about to release. So you can always find out the latest and greatest in Catholic fiction and nonfiction here on Cath-Lit Live. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to like and subscribe so you can catch all our future episodes. So again, today I have a new author for you, somebody I just met for the first time tonight. Her name is Colleen Pressprich. A former missionary and former Montessori teacher, Colleen seeks to use the lessons she learned in the mission field and the classroom to live her dream, homeschooling and building the domestic church. Colleen lives with her husband and children in Michigan, where they enjoy everything about spring, summer, and fall, and hate the winters. I can completely relate to living in Chicago. She is the author of Marian Consecration for Families with Young Children, and her new book that she's going to be talking about today, The Women Doctors of the Church. Please join me in welcoming Colleen Pressprich. Hey, Colleen.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me here on Cath-Lit Live.
It is such a pleasure to be here.
So we're talking about your new book today on a topic that I'm very interested in, especially in the last few years. I've found myself getting very interested in this. It's the Women Doctors of the Church. There are 4 of them, and some of them I have some pretty close relationships with. So tell us about your book about the Women Doctors of the Church.
So this is an illustrated children's book aimed at kids kind of ages 6 through 9. Fully illustrated, gives a short biography of each of the women, not just who they were, but how they made a difference in the church and why they matter today. And the goal of it really is to show all of our children that they too can become saints, and not just saints who are kind of pastel-y, right? Or like, right? Like these women were intense and incredible and lived out loud, bold lives. And I know for my own children, those are the saints that resonate the deepest.
Yes, absolutely. So what inspired you? Was it your own children or did something else inspire you to write this book?
It was my kids. These are some of my favorite saints, right? Like I just love them. And as my kids started getting older, we really work as a family to introduce our children to as many saints as possible so that they can kind of find the person they click with. But I couldn't find anything, right? Like there's a couple of Therese biographies, but they're a little muted. There's one Hildegard book. There's no Catherine of Siena books for children. And there's no Teresa of Ávila books for children. And I was just like, well, that's just wrong. We need to be introducing kids to these women, these powerhouses who have done so much. So yeah, it was really just what I want my kids to know.
That's great. I think, when it came time for me to pick a confirmation saint, like I had really no idea. I don't think I really had a confirmation saint when I was confirmed. I don't remember officially picking one because at the time I was confirmed, the tradition at the time, and my mom was a DRE. So I got this from my mom. She's like, the bishops were saying you're supposed to pick your baptismal name. Well, I was baptized Amy and there's no Saint Amy. And people were saying, well, maybe it's a derivative of Saint Anne or Saint Emily. And I never really picked one. So I have sort of retroactively picked Saint Catherine of Siena. I wish I had learned about her as a young person because I think I would have picked her back then if I had known about her.
That's exactly the same thing that happened to me. We were told, use your middle name, done. But when I was in college, I met Teresa of Ávila and she absolutely changed my life. So
this is good. You're paving the way maybe for some more choices for confirmation saint names.
I hope so, because these women are awesome.
Yes. So is this a book then just for girls since you're talking about the women doctors of the church, or do you see it as something for boys as well?
So I do get that question a lot. And I will say that I have 2 boys. And they have read this book and they know all about these women. And just like, just like you or I could have a devotion to Saint Joseph or Pope John Paul II, like any little boy can have a devotion to Saint Hildegard or Saint Catherine. I don't think we have to. I think sometimes we expect girls to be open to boy saints, but we forget to do it the other way. And in doing so, we let our sons miss out on some incredible people and getting to know them. So for me, I want my sons to know these women just as much as I want my daughters to know them.
Yeah, I know a priest who has a strong devotion to Saint Rita of Cascia. It's like, that's out there, that happens. And you're right, we got to open up to the opportunity as well. So why these particular saints?
Well, so the Doctors of the Church is one of many categories of saints, right, that the church has that help us kind of figure out who we need in our lives. But Doctors of the Church, these are the people who have shaped theology, who have shaped what our church teaches and how it teaches what it teaches, which makes them kind of incredible. And one of the pieces of being named a doctor of the church is that your teachings and your writings were not just for your time period, but are designed for all time periods within the church, which means that when we read something by a doctor of the church, we're reading something that is directly applicable to life today, which I think we all need more of. Yeah. At least I do.
Yeah, I do too.
Right? My kids need more of too, right? It's a complicated world that they're growing up in. And so I want them to know where to turn.
Right. And I'm working on my own idea for a book for saints right now related to education. And I'm finding out there's so many out there that were involved in education, so many patrons of teachers, school children, catechists, I didn't even know about. And you're right. It's like we use them. I'm calling them our saint squad. Like we need to build a little saint squad that will be with us in our work.
Yes, everybody needs one. Right. So this is help our kids build theirs. Because the sooner they do, honestly, the better off they are.
Yes. All right. Well, this book sounds wonderful. You said mostly for ages 6 to 9, right? So we can get them
but
early.
It can go a little older, a little younger, because, it's an illustrated book. Kids love being read to, even if they're older.
Yep.
Really, they do. They may, grouch about it, but really they love it.
I read to my middle school students. They love it.
I know. I used to read to my upper elementary students all the time, and it was their favorite part of the day.
Yeah.
So
where can people find out more about you and your books? Where can we find you online?
So you can find me online at elevatortoheaven.com, which is my website. You can find me on Instagram at Colleen Pressprich. And you can find my books at OSV at our Sunday Visitor bookstore or on Amazon.
Great. Well, Colleen, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your new book with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Cath-Lit Live. Those of you who follow me on Instagram, I kind of have a thing for Saint Catherine of Siena, and I feel like Saint Teresa of Ávila has been chasing me for a little while too. So I've got 2 more doctors of the church I got to grow a little bit, 2 more women doctors of the church I got to grow a little closer to. But go check out her book if you've already read it. Feel free to leave comments on Facebook or YouTube or on Instagram, wherever you're watching this video. If you are on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any future episodes. And until next time, everybody, happy reading.